This is the Blood Red podcast from the Liverpool Echo.
Hello and welcome to the latest Blood Red podcast from the Liverpool Echo. The Reds are 9 points clear of Man City and 8 points clear at the top of the Premier League table after a hugely important 3-1 victory at Anfield over Pep Guardiola's side yesterday. To discuss the game with myself, Joe Rimmer, the host for today, is three fine gentlemen. On my left is our full-time Liverpool reporter, both home and away, Paul Gorst. How are you, Paul?
Oh, do you know what? I'm absolutely delighted. We've got an international break and Liverpool are 9 clear of City. What a time to be alive.
Yeah, and you've got your Jack Whitehall tickets as well.
Yeah, the less said about them, the better.
Hope Tasha doesn't listen to this podcast because she thought you bought them a year ago, didn't she?
Shh. Keep that quiet.
All right.
I thought it did.
Okay, we won't say any more on that. To my right is Theo Squires. How are you, Theo?
Not too bad, Joe. You?
Not too bad. I thought you'd be happier than that.
It's still not sunk in yet. It's quite surreal. It's like being there. I was saying it to Gorsty earlier. It doesn't feel like Liverpool have gone 9 clear of City.
They've got 8 clear.
I said of City.
Ah, you got there in the end. On the end here is Ian Doyle. How are you, Ian?
All right, yep.
Always happy you are, aren't you?
I'm happy that I'm not in work after today until a week on Thursday, so that's good.
How come, Ian?
I am going away somewhere special.
Do you want to tell us more?
Yes, it's the venue of the Club World Cup, Qatar. I'm doing
You're going to have
recce.
those? Yeah.
I'm going to go and have a look, see what's what, see whether it's worthy of us going over there and reporting on it, and see whether Liverpool should be going over there. So it should be interesting to see what the fans make of it all.
I'm sure you'll do a little podcast on it and tell us all about it, right?
I might well do that. Might even write some stories for the Liverpool Echo website, www.liverpoolecho.co.uk/LiverpoolFC.
Excellent. There you go. There you are. Right. That's us done for the day. Anyway, let's talk Liverpool 3, Manchester City 1. Gorsty, hugely important result. Wins don't come much bigger, do they, really?
They don't. And me and Theo did the debrief yesterday at Anfield and we were talking about it, and I actually thought after it, it's probably, Jurgen Klopp had asked for it, and he always does, and sometimes it's a little bit unrealistic to expect certain atmospheres on certain days, but he wanted the fans to show up, and he said to them on Friday, get in there as early as you can and create a hell of a noise, and everyone's got to be at the best, and that includes the players and the fans. And he said, didn't he, as well, even the hot dog man has got to be at his best. And to be fair, Liverpool fans listened to him because I thought they were excellent, and it's probably the best atmosphere at a Premier League game that I can remember, if I'm honest.
How did the hot dog man get on?
Oh yeah, the blinder. Yeah. It's 10 out of 10 for me. Yeah. I mean, maybe. I mean, it was up there with possibly maybe even Barcelona have made like that kind of atmosphere early on. They were cheering for everything Liverpool were doing, and they were booing for everything that City were doing, and it just had a massive impact straight away. You could tell the players kind of fed off it, and it took the lead early on, didn't he? No messing about. I'm sure we'll get into the decisions and handballs and whatnot, but Liverpool just fed off that energy from the crowd, and it was their all game, and fair play to the fans because they had a massive part in what was a huge victory.
Yeah, okay, well, we will discuss VAR and the decisions, but first of all, I think we should discuss some of the players' performances, some of the players who really rose to the occasion. Theo, we'll start in the midfield. Fabinho obviously scored a cracking goal. I love to see football hit that cleanly, straight into the camera, wasn't it? Knocked that flying. But alongside him, Jordan Henderson set up the third goal, was very, very good. Gini Wijnaldum also very, very good on the ball. Birthday boy as well, Gini Wijnaldum today, 29 today. Happy birthday, Gini Wijnaldum.
Happy birthday, Gini.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
What do you say?
He's not listening.
Might be.
He's not listening.
International break, he's got to listen to something on the way to meet up with the Netherlands squad.
It's true.
Well, happy birthday then, Jorginho, to give you your full name.
Good. Theo, that is the midfield that Klopp often turns to in big games. And sometimes you see people saying, I think you should get Cater in, Oxlade-Chamberlain. But there's a reason why he turns that midfield, and it showed up, didn't it, and did a hell of a job against City.
And the only criticism that midfield has had is they don't get goals, but in the last few weeks they have. So what can you do to criticise them now? They are the big performing players, and they all offer so much. They complement each other so well. And like you think Fabinho, he was supposed to be just this holding midfielder, but then he goes and steps up, hits that ball. I said to Gorsty when we were doing the debrief, Steven Gerrard textbook. You don't expect that to hit him to hit that well. The fans were urging him to shoot, and you're looking there. You're still not quite sure whether he actually should, because there was that pause there. City defenders didn't close him down. So, this is just going over the goal. Finds the top corner. Brilliant strike. You know what you get with Henderson and Wijnaldum. They're just there. They're doing the top business time and time again. And that's why Jurgen Klopp always turns to them for the big games. And he has done for, 3-4 years now. Mm-hmm. He's given them the more advanced roles. And they just thrive in these situations. Like, you can look at the smaller games and you say, like, when you're playing a Genk, Oxlade-Chamberlain's done well. He scored a couple of goals. He's really impressed. But could he do it in that high intensity when he's still feeling his way back? You go to your tried and trusted, and Henderson, when he's been off for a week with flu, can still put in an hour like that. It's brilliant.
Yeah, it was a captain's performance, wasn't it, Doyle?
It was, yeah. It's impossible to add any more to what Theo's just said on Henderson, to be honest. I mean, it shouldn't be overlooked, the fact that he was unwell against Genk, and he was in bed, wasn't he, when that game was on? So for him to get through an hour was very good, and he showed his creative side with the cross for Sadio Mane's goal. I just think Liverpool overall were just better than City. I would like to point out, I don't think it was as good as atmosphere as Gorst is making out. It was a good atmosphere, but it certainly wasn't up there with the best.
For the Premier League game, I can't remember a better one in the Premier League. Premier League is quite often they're quite sleepy, aren't they?
They can be a little bit. I think the 4-3 against City the other year.
3-2 against City in Rodgers, title.
Well, the point, I think I agree with Gorst when he said that the fans made a difference, because you only had to look at some of City's players. They were a little bit rattled. Yeah. One player in particular was De Bruyne. I don't think I've ever seen him have such a bad game. There was one point in the second half with about 20 minutes to go where he played I don't think I've ever seen him put so many poor crosses in when you consider how good his final pass is. But there was one bit where I think City lost the ball and he was on the left wing, and rather than running back, he just stopped. He just stopped and turned around, and he just couldn't be bothered anymore with it. Or that's how it seemed, to be honest. I mean, Raheem Sterling coming for a lot of stick, but he was probably City's best player, and the battle that he had with Trent was one of the highlights of the game, to be honest. I mean, I think Trent just about edged it in the fact that Liverpool won, and he ended up playing a part in one of the goals. And I don't think City's goal wasn't anything down to anything that came from that wing, really. Well, not from Sterling anyway. But Liverpool's performance overall, you look at the likes of Dejan Lovren, who a lot of fans, as always, the minute he plays a game, they go into meltdown when the team sheet comes in. And there's Henderson as well, the two that people like to have a go at, and what a surprise when it comes to a big game. The pair of them step it up again. Lovren likes playing against Manchester City. His best ever performance for Liverpool was in the Champions League quarter-final second leg at the Etihad about 18 months ago. And I thought Alisson Becker was probably his best game since he's come back from injury, but not necessarily because he made any particularly outstanding saves. But second half, City had quite a lot of corners, shall we say, and by the end they'd just given up putting them into the box, because they knew the combination of either Lovren or Van Dijk heading it away, or the keeper coming and getting them. It was pointless them putting them in there, because they were just wasting the time. So they were playing them all short, and then it basically just became, as it was for the most of the second half, of City trying to find a way through about 9 or 10 Liverpool players just from a corner. So it's almost like they're just wasting them. I mean, that's not Liverpool's problem, but that's what Liverpool did to City. Klopp said afterwards, it's pointless trying to play City at their own game because they're so good at it and they're the best in the world. We just had to play our way, or I think he didn't mean necessarily the normal Liverpool way, but a way that would win them the game. That's what they did.
Well, Doyle mentioned him there. I thought Trent, I thought the moment of the match was his ball out to Andy Robertson for the second goal. He seems to grow in stature with every game. I think he looks stronger and more combative with other players. What did you think of his performance yesterday and in that battle with Raheem Sterling?
Yeah, I thought he had a very, very good game, and not a lot of players keep Sterling as quiet as he did. And Sterling was always going to have his moments because he's a top quality player, and he really has flourished, hasn't he, under Guardiola at City the last couple of years. He seems to score virtually every game now, and I think that might be the first one he hasn't scored in I don't know how long, because he seems to be on the score sheet every week. And as the game wore on, his influence started to grow a little bit more. But
he didn't score last week, by the way.
Last week against Villa? Was that the week before? Southampton. So he didn't score that one. He scored the week before. Scored against Atalanta in midweek.
Scores every other week. Stop picking on him.
I thought the longer it went on, the more influence he started to show on the game. But generally, I thought Alexander-Arnold did well. I mean, as good as any right back this season. I know Klopp sent on Oxlade-Chamberlain to offer him a little bit more protection. As I say, as the game went on, Sterling was kind of getting better, and then at the end it was Joe Gomez, wasn't it? And Alexander-Arnold was pushed further forward, but generally thought he did well against him and played his own game that he normally does. That one with the right foot, and with his left foot to free Robertson right across the other side, which was a fantastic example of Liverpool's counter-attacking brilliance.
Some of his passes out of this world, isn't it? There was another one over the top. I don't think I can remember a full-back with such good distribution in terms of short and long passing as well as crossing.
Yeah, I mean, that's why a lot of people seem to be desperate to get him into central midfield. And Gary Lineker said on Twitter, didn't he, last week, that it's like watching Kevin De Bruyne. When is he going to become a midfielder? And Carragher said it was Kevin De Bruyne at right back against Tottenham. For me, I'd just love to see him stay at right back and become the world's best right back, because he's certainly one of Europe's best at the moment now. 21 years of age, 102 Liverpool appearances or whatever it is now. He's only going to get better. He's going to play hundreds and hundreds of more games for this club, his boyhood club that he loves. And absolute credit to the academy staff who've got him to this level, and the manager Jurgen Klopp, who's trusted in him from day one.
He out De Bruyne, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. But to sticking with you, Doyle, I was listening to a bit of the build-up on 5 Live, and they were talking about Trent and saying about this battle between Sterling and Trent, and Chris Sutton was saying that they would target Trent, and I hear this a lot now, that Trent's weakness is defensively. Do you think that is over-exaggerated, that Trent is weak defensively?
Yes, but if there's any weakness in his game, it's his defensive ability. That doesn't necessarily mean that he's weak defensively. But if teams are always going to look at stuff like that, because I think Jurgen Klopp said it the other week that it's about teams just don't want to go down the middle against Liverpool, because they're going out wide, because they know that's where the gaps might appear, because Liverpool play such an expansive game where they try and make the pitch as wide as possible. So that's where a lot of teams score goals. That Liverpool scored 2 of their 3 goals from out wide. That's what crosses result in an awful lot of goals. So there is that. I mean, it's because Trent is so good that a lot of the analysis for the likes of Match of the Day and goals on Sunday, Match of the Day in particular, they look at him and they'll go, right, look at this, he did that. I mean, what was the recent game? I've forgotten who did he play recently? Tottenham at home, was it? Yeah. It was Tottenham, wasn't it, where they were discussing that I think it was Match of the Day 2, they were discussing some moments where Danny Rose got inside him, and they were saying this is the stuff that he needs to learn. And I think it was on Sky, Graham Souness said that, well, that's the easy bit. The easy bit is learning how to defend and get the position right. The hard bit is all the other stuff that he's doing, which is putting those passes, pinging them and controlling the ball. There was one bit where he plucked the ball out of the sky, didn't he? And then played a pass down the wing. So, that's the stuff that it's not hard to learn. It's not impossible to learn, but it's an awful lot harder to learn than it is to, know what position and which side to stand on when you're facing an attacking player. That comes with experience. And I just think he's a great player, isn't he? And I probably agree with Gorsty, actually, that he should just be right back for the foreseeable. And Trent did reply, didn't he? He said one position at a time, didn't he, when he was talking to Lineker. I think he quite enjoys it, because being a full-back at Liverpool is not the same as being a full-back at almost any other team. The only one that you could probably compare it to, and they don't even do it now, is at Barcelona, when you had Dani Alves down one wing, and I think Jordi Alba was there at that time, already down the other wing, where because they know Barcelona are going to get so much of the ball, they were just playing as wingers. And I think Liverpool do that because they've got a front three that's comparable to anything that Barcelona have been able to put out in the last 10 years.
I think it's becoming quite a lazy narrative to pick on Trent for his defensive play, just because he's a young player, so you think, they're going to make defensive mistakes. But him and Andy Robertson, they play the same way. They get forward down the line, and there are going to be gaps in behind them. And when you run up and down the line, and when you look at Trent as well, Sadio Mane is a lot more willing to get back and defend than Mohamed Salah is. Yeah. So he's going to be more isolated and have to deal with it a bit more.
Well, they leave Salah forward, don't they?
Exactly. That's why Henderson played as well, partly because it helped. He was out wide and helped keep Sterling quite a little bit more.
Yeah. But with Trent, I think the biggest credit you can give them is in recent years we've seen Man City come to town. Those are the games that Klopp would rest him. He put Joe Gomez at right back. Yeah. He was the kid in the team. This season he's become a man. He's in that team. He's not going to get dropped for any games, and he is so important. Like, he's got as many chances created as De Bruyne from right back. Yeah, you can say he'll create more if he's playing in that playmaker role, but you don't need him to, because that's where Liverpool create their chances.
Yeah, and I think you look at it yesterday, and City kept giving Sterling the ball, and he ran at Trent a lot. But I can't think of that many times when Sterling went past him or got in behind him. I think every single time Trent was tight to him, forcing him out wide, winning. Right, Sterling was winning corners and stuff like that. But I mean, it's about just doing enough to stop him getting through or creating clear-cut opportunities. And I think you're absolutely right. I think the idea that he's weak defensively is just a bit lazy. And I also think it's lazy, Gorsty, what you were saying about him moving into midfield, because do you think we overlook fullbacks a little bit? I mean, I think you look at Brazil or Barcelona, as Doyle just mentioned, and they're celebrated, but here we want to move them into...
Yeah, I mean, I think there's always been a general school of thought in English football. The fullbacks are functional and don't really do a whole lot other than knock it down the line to the winger and keep it short and simple. But the way Liverpool play with their fullbacks, I mean, it was a bit of a secret weapon for a while, but everyone's fully aware of it now, aren't they? Alexander-Arnold with 12 assists and Robertson with 11 last season in the Premier League.
Robertson's ahead again, isn't he? As he tweeted before.
They've got the bet going again, haven't he? Alexander-Arnold actually was the most ever for a defender in Premier League history, which is incredible when you think he was also part of the best defence in the league that season with 21 clean sheets, I think, and just 22 goals conceded. So I think it is a little bit lazy just to say, oh, well, he's not that good defensively because of how good he is attacking wise. And again, I see no real reason why he should move into midfield and be forced to completely learn a new position at elite level. Okay, he played there for the under-23s, but playing it in the Premier League every week is a completely different game, isn't it? Don't really see the need to do that when he's so good at a position that is so important for Liverpool.
If you want to be picky, he technically finished the game in midfield and barely got a kick. Granted, that's Liverpool seeing it out.
He played there once, didn't he, against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge about 18 months ago, and it was probably one of his worst Liverpool performances, if I'm honest. Obviously, he'd be given time to develop it and learn it, but I don't really see why he should.
Well, before we move on and talk about the VAR incident in the whole game, let's just quickly talk about the goalkeepers. Doyle, you mentioned them, but Theo, I know you've written a piece about goalkeeping. Liverpool's very good yesterday, Man City's not so good.
Yeah, it was really Alisson. He's become almost a forgotten man, hasn't he? Just because Adrian was so good without him. And when he's still waiting for that clean sheet, you yet to see the real Alisson back. And like all the combined 11s we've seen from the pundits, it was, Ederson's probably in form, he's the better goalkeeper now. But Brazil, they don't see him that way. Alisson will be number one there. And all the headlines were still dominated by, is Ederson going to play? Is he not? And then you look and see, well, what did Alisson do wrong yesterday? He can't do anything about the goal. It was perfectly into that corner. Like Doyley's already mentioned, every single cross he came out and gathered with ease. So they've changed how they're doing the corners. The cop were chanting his name at one point. You can see this is just a very special goalkeeper. He's going to win the Yashin Award. You'd expect him to win that next month. That doesn't just come along for no reason. He is very talented. And whilst Liverpool aren't getting the clean sheets, you can see how much of a difference he does make to that team because he's so cool, so collected. When you see Bravo fretting when Mane's closing him down and he boots one out of play. Yeah. They've got De Bruyne doing it to Alisson and he's just doing drag backs, passing out, keeping his head at all times.
Yep.
Nice tights as well.
Yeah, nice tights. Yeah.
Would you wear any of them, Joe, when you're playing football?
I wouldn't.
But left back?
But if I was as good as Alisson, I'd wear whatever the hell I wanted. So I'm not as good as Alisson. So, yeah. Right, let's talk about VAR. Because
do we have to?
Because we probably do have to, don't we?
We should just pencil this in for the...
Oh, hang on.
There you go. We should not be talking about VAR, clearly.
Right, so you get a bit excited there, the mic.
And for anybody that's listening...
That's how most of us felt after Liverpool won yesterday.
For anybody who's listening, Joe's microphone
you're just sitting there watching,
flying up into the air.
Like this is
our producer's watching me struggle here, just sat doing nothing. It's got...
It's always going to be a topic of debate.
The thing is, should it... Right, Kate. Now, if there is no VAR, can I just point out that if there's no technology, Liverpool win the league last season because that Mane goal at the Etihad probably gets allowed because it looks as though it's in. So that's the first thing. Second thing, this VAR thing from the referee has seen it and he's gone, that's not handball for whatever reason. He's decided. We're talking about the Trent thing when Liverpool scored the opening goal. For anybody who hasn't seen it, basically City are on the attack. The ball hits Silva on the hand, Bernardo Silva on the hand. Then it hits Trent on the hand. Liverpool break down the other end. Man City clear it, don't they? There's a cross comes in and they clear it and it comes out to Fabinho. So there's quite a lot happens in between the two incidences. But they went back to VAR, had a look at it, and He said that, Trent. What was he said that Trent? There was nothing for them to consider.
Yeah.
It wasn't deliberate. But it doesn't have to be deliberate for it to be a penalty. To be honest,
this is the whole confusing thing about
the
this.
confusing thing is
does handball? I thought from a handball from a defender has to be deliberate.
No. Oh, sorry. Sorry. It doesn't have to be deliberate, but it has to be. It doesn't necessarily have to be deliberate. But I think where that gets confused is any touch of the hand from an attacking player that results in a goal-scoring opportunity, is just a penalty or a goal, that automatically gets
like Mane at Old Trafford.
Yes, like Mane at Old Trafford, like Bale for Real Madrid at PSG, and was it Tammy Abraham?
City against Tottenham.
City against Tottenham Laporte. So
got ruled out.
That's everybody can accept that. They might not like it, but they know what the rule is. Yeah. That's clear. With defensive actions, it depends on where the ball is, how close the ball is to the player, such as Trent's one in the second half. That was never going to be a penalty because it was right in front of him. But then this was a little bit different because it was worked out 8.7 yards or something, they said on the television, between the ball hitting Silva and the ball hitting Trent. So there was a bit of a gap. You could argue that his arm's in an unnatural position. And if nothing else happens before that, I think it's a penalty. It's a penalty to Man City. But the reason clearly it wasn't given is because literally about 1 second before, it hits Bernardo Silva on the hand as he's running through. I think Lovren goes to challenge him. And that's how it ends up at Trent's hand. So if they'd have explained it like that, fine. But then the argument then is, okay, so how do you restart the game? Do you just let the play carry on or what? The complication is that Liverpool scored from it. If Liverpool hadn't scored from it, nobody would have said like, oh, that's a penalty to Manchester City, because they'd have just said, well, it's clearly handball by Silva, so it wouldn't be allowed anyway. The problem is, well, how does the game then restart? Did they just carry on? Did the referee play an advantage? Then they go back to the referee, and if the referee thought both handballs were not deliberate handballs or what he thought should have been penalised, then it is play on.
So, but yeah, I mean, I thought, like you, that Bernardo Silva's handball would make the whole situation moot, because
but the statement that they put out straight away confused things further, because I think once you saw that it was handball by Bernardo Silva, you were like, well, that clearly can't be given as a penalty. But then the statement didn't even mention it.
No.
But I've seen two different referees come out with different opinions. Bobby Madley said it wasn't a penalty, and Keith Hackett said it was.
I can throw another two names in there as well: Peter Walton and Dermot Gallagher. They've been saying complete opposite things as well.
Mark Halsey said it was.
What chance has this game got when you've got four referees with two different opinions?
That's always been the case. That's always been the case.
And that's the whole point, is that you could watch that back 100 times on a video, and you ask 100 people and you get 50 different responses.
Yeah, so yes, it should just be the referee on the day. I mean, either they're both handball or neither of them are handball, and I suppose that's what Michael Oliver ruled in the end, didn't he? Neither of them are handball.
Yes.
Yep. I mean, correct. Do you think, Theo, that this is taking away all the talk afterwards, and perhaps Pep, this suits his agenda, but all the talk afterwards is been about the VAR, the handball incident, how despite Liverpool winning the game 3-1, it could have been completely different, blah, blah, blah. Do you think it takes away from Liverpool, first of all, playing very well, and second of all, recording a very, very important win, when we're just talking about one moment's decision?
It's not just Liverpool, though, is it? It's every single game, every single week now. True, yeah. It's like all these incidents. But you think last week Liverpool were robbed, if we want to say it, by VAR. There's been one this week. Was it Burnley? Big toe? Was it Sheffield United?
Yeah,
Sheffield United. And it's like, look at that. It's like, if the technology wasn't there, these goals stand. It's affecting all the teams at the moment. And it's just when you've got fans of different sides, oh, that's gone against us, so I'm going to make a big noise about that. Like if the goal had been, if it'd been the other way around, so it hit a Liverpool player's hand first, and then it had hit a City's hand, City go and counter and score, does it get given? Liverpool fans would be kicking off there. So it's just one of those where they've got to have that clarification there, because whatever they're doing with VAR, it's not really working at the moment, and there's always that confusion of why doesn't the ref go and check the big screen? But if you're going to have a ref checking the big screen there, it's hit both hands, and how he views that situation is going to be different from how another referee views that situation, as we've just said. So there just needs to be some way they can sit down and make it clearer, but that's always been the problem with officiating, that technology was supposed to resolve, and if anything, it's made it even more confusing than ever.
Definitely. Well, Gorsty, Man City completely seemed to lose their heads in that incident, and then throughout the game were very touchy. Pep as well was just completely out of control yesterday. I mean,
that was hilarious.
Telling the gods that there'd been two handballs. Is the pressure getting to Man City? Did it get to Man City yesterday?
Possibly. They felt aggrieved, didn't he, inside the first 5 minutes, and they were a goal down and never really responded to it. I think they just had that sense of injustice throughout, and maybe they'd thought they had an excuse ready-made early on. I mean, I respect Pep Guardiola so much for what he's done for football at Barcelona and Bayern Munich and at City last season, become the first manager to win a domestic treble in England. But that, when he was fuming at Mike Riley at the end, I mean, I've watched it over loads of times on Twitter, and it's just hilarious. It's when he's pointing in his face twice, and then he finally gives up and just looks to the heavens and just lets out a twice of forlorn, angry twice. It was just...
I love when Pep gets angry. His clothing changes, doesn't it? So he has like his hat on, then the hat comes off.
Made him sound like he was Superman.
Yeah, he just pops himself. He goes like very dishevelled, just completely loses everything about him. He just seems to lose his cool, doesn't he?
Yeah, but when you're watching Pep Guardiola on the sidelines, even when they're winning 3-0, he still looks dead anxious and nervy and tetchy. So when his team's not winning, he just goes into a complete overdrive. And
it didn't stop you being very polite to him, though, did it, afterwards?
I held the door open for him, and he
was very angry, wasn't he?
No, he didn't thank me. No,
he didn't even thank you.
No, he wasn't happy one bit.
Karma then serves him right.
Yeah.
He didn't thank you.
No,
that's very rude.
That's very rude.
To be fair, I don't even think he looked up. He was just walking with his head down. He was fuming.
So did he think that door opened itself? For
he
him,
must have done.
Exactly. He's probably the kind of person who, you know, when you let them through and you're driving and he doesn't wave, and then you have to give them the big sarcastic, yeah, thank you very much, in their faces.
I think that's what he did.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Two.
To be fair, I was driving down Penny Lane once, pulled in to allow one Liverpool player to pass, and he didn't thank me.
Wasn't Emil, was it?
It wasn't Emil.
Yeah,
who was it? Come on, name names.
Mohamed Salah.
Really?
Didn't thank me. Yeah.
Oh no!
He doesn't like you, actually.
Get him out of the team now.
I've since let Mohamed off, but if you are listening,
along with he sat next to Wijnaldum.
If someone pulls in, just thank them. Well,
Pep Guardiola was like a lot, wasn't he? Yeah, I mean, I've never seen. I mean, City don't lose many games, but when they do, Pep Guardiola's mask slips a little bit, doesn't it? There's always that little bit of Mourinho about him, where he's quite, you know, sardonic. He's so passive aggressive and sarcastic. It's unbelievable, and he can get around that by just saying no, I wasn't, because you can't prove sarcasm. So he looks like he's done it again, doesn't it? With the FA not going to look into his behaviour on the sidelines, and as a sarcastic shake of the hand after the game. But it's quite funny when City lose, because he just seems to lose the plot so much, just because it's basically fueled from a desire to win, isn't it? And he's so used to winning that he doesn't really know how to react when it goes against them. But that was hilarious on the sidelines yesterday.
I would like to make a point about Manchester City and their massive injury crisis. Now, I'm right in saying that the only players who were missing were Ederson.
David,
he was on the bench. He was on the bench. So you had Ed, and he doesn't play all the time anyway. So you had Ederson, Laporte, and Leroy Sané, who they were going to sell anyway. So they only had two players missing. Admittedly, a goalkeeper and a centre back, but it wasn't quite the massive injury crisis that people thought.
Zinchenko, I'm being told here.
Zinchenko as well. Oh yeah, but does he play all the time?
Top guy. Yeah, he's okay.
To be fair, you got Mendy's there as well, and he made a point of not playing him.
More than Mendy. And Mendy played against Atalanta and obviously didn't play.
But they bought Angelino in the summer.
Yeah.
So it's not as if they've got a shortage of left backs.
The point there being, they've got an awful lot of players, haven't they? This is supposed to be the reason why they have this big squad, and they've come up against the first big game and they've lost. I mean, you look at City this season, they drew with Tottenham, okay. Again, that's VAR again, but as we know, that's why that was disallowed. City have played a couple of our games this season and they've come unstuck, a bit like Chelsea have, a little bit like Leicester have, but that's why Liverpool are 8 points clear at the top, because they've negotiated having played, I'm right in saying, the top five from last year and Leicester. Admittedly, 4 of them were at home, but still got to win them.
I think
that's what Liverpool have done. 13 points from them games.
Yeah.
They're feeling the pressure before, because even watching Pep's pre-match press conferences, he was so prickly. He's like looking at him post-match, he was shell-shocked. But he's got this pattern where he's whatever team he's at, he's great for the first couple of 3 years. Then he wins the titles, gets them dominated, and then you get to that 4th season, and it just slowly begins to fall apart. He falls out with players, and they can see he's feeling the pressure. He's running out of answers. Maybe that's what's happening here. Like when you go into Liverpool and you're already 6 points behind, he was struggling there. He knew he was up against it, because Liverpool just don't look like they're going to lose at the moment. And then when you say the stuff with Ederson, is he going to play? Is he not going to play? Because he made a point of saying at post-match, Jurgen said 100% certain he was going to play. No, he's not. He was taking that almost as a victory. He's running out of answers, and that's another reason why they're all just getting very frustrated, because it's not just going to be on a match day, is it? That feeling's going to be there in training when you know your manager's rattled, and maybe that's why Raheem Sterling was so up for it, falling out with everyone left, right and centre.
Every one of his England teammates, yeah, I don't know, he's going to come into England juicy this week, isn't he? Having started on Trent, I think he had a word with Ox and Gomez as well. Henderson as well, so he's going to go into, he's not going to be very popular, is he, on England duty, Raheem Sterling?
Probably isn't really anyway.
He's only little as well, isn't he? I mean, he's squaring up to Joe Gomez.
Can I just say, I really like Raheem Sterling, and I thought he was Manchester City's best player.
I think he's
and the reason that he's
player.
booed isn't not just because he's greedy for how dare he want to go and leave Liverpool when they weren't very good to Man City, who've ended up becoming really good, but also because he's their best player, and fans want to do anything they can to put somebody off, and that's why he gets all the G's every time he comes.
Oh no, I agree. I think he's a wonderful player.
What was a stat? He's not had a shot on target at Anfield since he left.
Oh, he's unlucky though, wasn't he? Like that one where he's cut inside, beat 2-3 players, and then Lovren's somehow on his backside.
Great defending that.
Great defender.
Onto the roof of the net. Yeah.
So no, you should have hit it in a different area and not let the defender block it.
Do you think, Doyle, as rivalry grows with a team, and as we've seen with City over the years, and Klopp and Pep, it becomes more bitter, doesn't it? This has grown into a proper rivalry now, isn't it?
It has been a proper rivalry for a little while, but you're right to say that it's become a little bit more bitter because it's become a little bit more even. And that's the way we had this on the podcast last week, where we were talking about Benitez and Mourinho, Ferguson, with just about everybody. Yeah. But the minute that they start winning, beating them, then they don't become the friends anymore. I still think, to be perfectly honest, I still think Klopp and Guardiola have got great respect for each other. They're not daft. I mean, they did battle, didn't they, in Germany when one was at Bayern, one was at Dortmund, and I think it's just more of the same. I think Gorsty's right that Pep struggles a little bit when things aren't going his way, and he just wears his heart on his sleeve, doesn't he? I know you like him for that, don't you, Joe? Because he's so competitive that when things aren't going right, he just can't I
just think he's hilarious.
He can't do you think that perhaps he gave away a little bit? That he has no confidence in the defence that he put out by putting the rest of the team so attacking and then going for it from the start, because he knew. Because, I mean, we spoke in the podcast before the game where I made a bit of a jest about the fact, ask me again after 10 minutes what the score's going to be, because we had no idea how Manchester City were going to approach the game. And, of course, it turned out that they just completely went for it, which backfired because they were caught in the counter-attack twice for 2 goals, and then that was kind of the game there and then. And I think that perhaps, reflect on the fact that Pep didn't have any confidence in his defence to keep out Liverpool, which ended up being correct.
He was correct. Okay, moving on then. Liverpool are 9 points clear of City, 8 of Leicester and Chelsea. Before we talk about the gap between City, I want to know from you guys what you think of Leicester and Chelsea, whether you think that they're proper title contenders. Gorsty, I mean, Brendan Rodgers done remarkable job so far with Leicester.
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost as if he's not a bad manager, is he?
Yeah, I always said that, to be fair. And I know a lot of people say that, okay, he won loads in Scotland, but it's not the greatest standard of football, but he still had to go and win those games. And what was it? Two treble seasons on the bounce, and he was heading for the third before he left midway through the season. Probably the best British manager there is, if we're being honest. And he showed that with Liverpool. He's shown it with Leicester. I don't see them as title contenders. Doyle had them down for the top 4 a few weeks back, and I said they'd struggle to do that, and it might be a top 6. But the further the season goes, you think they've got a credible shout for the top 4 at this stage. But I don't really see them challenging Liverpool over the next 26 games.
Doyle?
I think Leicester probably will challenge for the title.
Challenge?
Yeah, because
just by virtue of being second or third.
By virtue of not being in Europe, by virtue of the fact they won't have any midweek games.
Still the League Cup, might be going for silverware.
Well, they might be, but then that's not going to hurt them, is it? Really, for being honest. It's
done by February, isn't it?
And also, it's you look at Liverpool in 2013-14. The reason that they challenged for the title as long as they did is because they could prepare for every game, best part of a week, and I think that's what will help Leicester. Also, it's a small matter of fact that Leicester have got some really good players, and while a lot of them weren't there when they won the league, there are still some like Vardy, Albright's still knocking around, Schmeichel. There's still some who know what it takes to get over the line, which is there's very, the Man City players know that. Possibly some of the Chelsea ones who were there 2017, wasn't it, when they won it. So it is interesting that Liverpool are technically up against 3 teams that have won the league in the last couple of years, and that's who they're fighting with to win the title. Because I think Chelsea, they'll be involved all the way through towards the end. I think Chelsea will fall away a little bit because they'll have so many games, and the youngsters will eventually get not so much found out, but their inexperience will tell because they've not been in this situation before.
Can't buy anyone in January either, can they?
No.
Although that might be changing, might it? I thought
They've got the appeal in a couple of weeks, maybe next week.
Theo,
when was the last time you knew somebody won an appeal like that? It's not happened.
Theo, do you go along with that?
I really like watching Leicester this year. And like, granted, the weekend it was only Arsenal. That's just for you, Guy. But the goals were brilliant, weren't they? Just really quick, free-flowing football, great finishes. And like Doyle said, they've got some really likeable players. And Rodgers has built a good team here. I saw a few tweets over the weekend. You got the United and Arsenal fans going absolutely mental, how they've had long-serving managers go and they've just fallen apart after years without winning the title. Leicester have managed to win the title, lose all but two of the best players, struggle a bit, look like they might go down again, and then built another team and been better than both.
Yeah. Do you think Maddison's got a little bit of Liverpool, Rodgers and Coutinho about him?
A little bit, yeah. I can see the similarities. I don't think he can be as good as Coutinho is or perhaps was for Liverpool, but he's certainly a similar type of player, isn't he? And Jamie Vardy just continues to get better the older he gets, doesn't he? Was he now 32, 33?
Like Benjamin Button, isn't he?
Yeah.
So
He's even goal scorer in the league at the moment.
He is, yeah.
And I suppose the biggest thing you can say about their win on Saturday is, and I know our dutiful presenter Guy won't particularly agree with this, but it wasn't a surprise to see Leicester beat Arsenal 2-0. It was just a routine home win, wasn't it, for the team who were really showing that they can do something this season.
Arsenal poor though.
Arsenal
are really
bad.
really
bad.
So poor.
Yeah, crap club, crap stadium, crap fans, crap manager.
So which country has this just been blocked in?
It's crap's not. I'm not having that. Come on. Right.
Will you tell the UAE because they don't let us on when you say that?
You've been saying Arsenal all the way through this. So.
Doyle can't listen to this in Qatar next week.
This week.
We'll finish off. 9 points now between Liverpool and City. Peter Crouch was saying on Match of the Day 2 yesterday that he thinks that it's as good as over. I certainly don't think so just yet. Would anyone disagree with me?
No.
I mean, 9 points is a lot of points at any stage of the season, but...
Well, it's 8 points, isn't it?
Sorry, no, 9 points between Liverpool and City now. So.
I think City will still be the main challenges for the title. Yeah, I think between Liverpool and City. As I say, Leicester will go nearly all the way. Chelsea will fall away in the last 2 months. Is
it one where if Liverpool had the history of winning leagues, you would say it's over? But because they haven't done it yet, you still expecting them to maybe slip up at some point?
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's done by any stretch, but if Liverpool don't win the league, they'll look back on it and something will have had to have gone massively wrong at some stage. It might be an obvious thing, it might just be one of them where you're looking at it thinking, how has this not resulted in a league title? But it's not done. I mean, Jurgen Klopp will be the first to say that. Virgil van Dijk said the same thing yesterday in the mix zone. No one at Liverpool would say that, but that's for fans to enjoy, isn't it? And it's for the players and the managers to keep feet on the ground.
There you go. It's not over by a long shot, but we can certainly enjoy it right now. Thanks for listening. We'll be back on Friday when we'll try and fill the gap from an international break. And you might even hear from Doyle all the way from Qatar at some point as well. See you then. Bye-bye.